Hi, this is Ramirez with Tidewater Renaissance Fighting Arts. I'm here with one of our other instructors, Timothy. And we had a question come up in one of my earlier videos about what are the problems or adaptations with using a sword that has a double ring on both sides, the double ring, in Longsword. And I'll be honest with you, this is not the first double ring sword I had. I had one before this. I sold that when I got this one. And truthfully, I got it because when I was starting out in HEMA, I would get a lot of hand shots. Like a lot of people would get their hand shots on me. I was really bad about defending my hands. So this became my cheat to help me protect my hands better. Now since then, I've gotten better at protecting my hands. But there are things about double rings that are not necessarily beneficial in terms of a couple of different things, and so I wanted to share our thoughts. So you just recently got your double ring a couple of months ago, I believe.
Yep.
So what motivated you to use that instead of some of the other fetters you have?
So first off, I'll say that this is still my normal workhorse Purple Heart fetter. The only thing I switched out was the guard. I didn't get a whole new sword. But when I first started out as well, we've trained a lot on that as far as protecting the hands and covering them. And I feel like I've substantially improved there. And my thought process ended up being kind of the same as the swept hilt Pappenheimer debate, where yes, a swept hilt, if you're good enough with a swept hilt, you can overcome the disadvantages of being able to be poked through the guard. But at the end of the day, in a competitive situation, a better guard just gives you fewer things to think about, that I can dedicate more of my brain space to the fight itself and not just measuring where my hands are in centimeters. And so for fencing you and for going to competitions, I picked up the ring guard, and it's helped. I don't know that I can quantify how much, but it does feel better in those circumstances.
Okay, so we talked about what are the adaptations. And one of the things that happens when you have a ring guard is it's about this angle here. If you lock up here, twisting in that, it becomes a challenge. So certain things, if I'm down here and I try to go to hang in, it feels weird with the gloves on. So I have to make a conscious effort to be back a little bit to drop into hang in and get that with the double ring guard. And that's the same can be said for like ox and stuff, that when the glove presses against those double rings, you don't have the angled flexibility you would have without that. So anytime you're really up on the rings, there are potential guard problems, especially when I have all my equipment. I deliberately decided to wear some gloves today because I wanted to show that that does kind of press against. Whereas if I was wearing a thinner glove or I wasn't wearing a fencing glove, it probably wouldn't be much of an issue. And also that tends to mean you have to be aware that just drop yourself a little bit, give yourself a little space there so that the guard moves effortlessly. Because if you're right up against it, or if someone bangs into your blade and it drops it right next to it, that can be a complication. Not a difficult one to overcome, but certainly it's part of your learning and growing pains. So Tim, I don't know, you have any additional thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually have a slightly different version of that problem. So when I'm fencing, normally I take more of a handshake grip. And what that does, and it happens with the clamshells that I'm not currently wearing, but that tends to put my thumb just barely through that ring. It doesn't happen often, but a blade can catch on that and kind of defeats the purpose of that back ring a little bit. It also, not that it happens much, but since your thumb then is pressed against something, it can make those rogue thumb shots a little bit worse. So just make sure the thumbs on your gloves are good if you're going to take that kind of handshake grip that lets you switch into that thumb grip more easily. I guess plus side, I haven't actually found any problems shifting into that thumb grip that comes up so often in the German tradition. With that, the rings I have, and I believe yours as well, are big enough for me to slip my thumb through there and get into that thumb grip position.
Okay, so hopefully that answers some of the questions about the different pros and cons about having a ring guard. If you do have additional questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. And once again, I'm Ramirez, this is Tim. We're both instructors here at Tidewater Renaissance Fighting Arts, and I will see you in the next video.